Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the complex and really rapidly unfolding crisis in the Strait of Hormuz and all of its far-reaching consequences. You know, for decades, this has been the one critical question kind of hanging over the global economy. It's the ultimate geopolitical worst-case scenario. Well, that hypothetical situation, it's not so hypothetical anymore. Because this week, we finally found out what happens next. Okay, so let's start at the very epicenter. The Strait of Hormuz. Now, this vital waterway, it normally handles about 20% of all global oil shipments. But right now, it's at a complete standstill. We're talking hundreds of ships just trapped on either side. And things escalated, dramatically, when Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, opened fire on 3 commercial vessels. They ended up seizing 2 of them, the MSC Francesca and the Epaminondas, and they completely disabled a third. And just like that, maritime traffic slammed to a halt. But here's where it gets really interesting. You'd think a U.S. naval blockade would cripple Iran, right? Well, an analytics firm called Vortexa has been tracking tankers, and they've seen about 10.7 million barrels of crude oil move in just the last week. So that blockade? Yeah, it's not exactly airtight. So all this aggression out on the water, it's creating our first huge ripple effect. Just this intense political and diplomatic fallout. So, in the middle of all this chaos, President Trump has extended a ceasefire, but the deadline is tight. Tehran has just 3 to 5 days to get to the negotiating table. And they are not making it easy. They're demanding a total end to the blockade and to Israel's military actions before they'll even consider talking. Meanwhile, over on social media, President Trump is basically claiming victory. He's saying the economic pressure is working, that Iran is collapsing financially, and that its military isn't even getting paid. But is that what's really happening on the ground? Experts like Professor Marin Kamrava, well, they paint a very different picture. They're arguing that the regime isn't fractured at all. And what's really fascinating here is the power shift that seems to be happening inside Iran. The hardline IRGC is reportedly making some serious moves to consolidate its power. We're hearing they formed a security cordon around the new supreme leader, they've blocked the president's cabinet picks, and now they're insisting on taking direct control of the intelligence ministry. That all points to a much more confrontational Iran on the world stage. And that confrontational stance, believe me, it isn't just some internal power play. Let's move to the second ripple, because this tension is spilling over big time. It's threatening the already incredibly fragile 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. And you can see this dangerous cycle right here. Israel conducts airstrikes in southern Lebanon, killing at least 4 people. And what happens next? Hezbollah responds, launching drones to target Israeli troops. So, with both sides trading fire like this, those peace talks are in real jeopardy, and tragically, the human toll just keeps climbing. Now for the third ripple. And this is the one that's going to hit pretty much everyone on the planet, you and me included, right in the wallet. The massive economic shockwave. And that's not me being dramatic. When the head of the International Energy Agency gives a warning this stark, you listen. He's saying this isn't just about oil and gas. No, this affects essential things we all depend on. Everything from petrochemicals to fertilizers. So what does this actually look like for energy prices? Well, the impact was immediate. Brent crude oil, that's the key benchmark for oil prices around the world, it has surged past $100 a barrel. And a price like that has serious consequences for the global economy. But here's something weird. While the energy markets are in total chaos, Wall Street has been surprisingly strong. It looks like positive earnings reports, especially from the big tech companies, are giving investors just enough confidence to overlook the energy crisis, pushing the S&P, the Dow, and the Nasdaq higher. The aviation industry, though, they are feeling the pain directly. Jet fuel prices have doubled. That's forced airlines like United to hike fares by 20%, and it's causing Lufthansa to cancel a staggering 20,000 short-haul flights. All of this economic pressure has, in turn, kicked off our fourth ripple, a really fierce, really heated debate back in the United States about what on earth to do next. Military experts are just deeply divided on this. On one side, you have figures like retired Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, who are pushing for aggressive action, saying, finish the job. But then on the other side, you have people like retired Admiral William McRaven warning that striking Iran could ignite a much wider and far more devastating regional war. And this division, it's mirrored perfectly in Washington. And it's not just a simple Republican versus Democrat thing. The Democratic Party itself is completely split. For instance, you've got Senator John Fetterman criticizing his own party for, in his view, undermining efforts against Iran, while Senator Dick Durbin is taking a totally different view on the administration's threats. So we've looked at the high-level strategy and the economic numbers, but the final, and I think most profound ripple brings us to the devastating human toll of this conflict, the part that often gets overlooked. Just think about this. Tens of thousands of seafarers are literally stranded in the Persian Gulf right now, facing critical shortages of food and fuel. Aid groups have gotten almost 2,000 calls for help. And for the refugees in nearby countries, whatever fragile stability they had has just evaporated. And maybe nothing captures the desperation better than this one quote. It's from Sadri Hagshanaz, an Iranian refugee in Turkey who just had to send her daughter back to Iran. Her question, "What shall I do?" it just echoes across the whole region, a heartbreaking reminder of the real people who are caught in the crossfire of this escalating crisis.